Well, investigators say that an American man with dual U.S. and Israeli citizenship has been killed in the latest in the series of violent attacks in the Middle East, as tensions there are just soaring throughout the region. Israeli officials have identified the man as 27-year-old Ilan Ganelis of West Hartford, Connecticut. They say that he died after suspected Palestinian gunmen opened fire in the West Bank on 3 different vehicles at 3 separate locations. Now, this came just one day after Israeli settlers rampaged through the West Bank, torching cars and homes. Palestinian health officials are saying that 1 Palestinian was shot and killed at that time, 2 were wounded, and another was beaten with an iron bar. The rampage came after 2 Israeli settlers were killed by a Palestinian gunman. A lot impacting the region now, which is why our Inez de la Cuetera is there live from Jerusalem. So, Inez, let's talk about what more we are learning about the killing of this American first.
Hey, Kara, yes, so we are learning he was identified as Ilan Ganelis, as you mentioned. He was 27 years old. He was shot in the West Bank. We understand he had previously lived in Israel. He was from Connecticut, but had lived in Israel at one point. He was a lone soldier. He had come here to join the army back in 2016. In this case, he was here just to go to a friend's wedding. So he was going to a wedding. He was going to see his friends, and then he was planning on heading back to the U.S., but he was shot at 27. We know his funeral will be held tomorrow in Tel Aviv, so all eyes will be on that to see what his family has to say, what officials might have to say about it. He will be buried here in Israel, but really a tragic story there, Kira.
Yeah, indeed. And you know, the deadly rampage in the West Bank from Israeli settlers attacking Palestinians. Talk to us more about what we know about those suspects in that case that we've also been following.
Yeah, so there were 8 people detained in that kind of, act of violence that we saw over the weekend. So it was, in this case, scores of Israeli settlers who set homes and businesses on fire. And that was kind of, they were taking revenge for 2 brothers, Israeli brothers, who had been killed as well over the weekend. So lots of violence there. There were 8 people detained, there were 360 people who were injured, 1 Palestinian man who was shot, 8 people detained, but they were all released. And so that is raising lots of eyebrows. There are those who say that Israeli officials aren't doing enough to stop these kinds of acts, that very few of these, arrests ever result in convictions. And so that's problematic because the people committing these acts of violence, 1, are not being held accountable, but they're also, it's not deterring people, others who may be thinking about carrying out similar acts from doing so again in the future. So lots of questions as to why these people were being released, and the fear is that that could kind of add fuel to the fire here, Kira.
Look, in this type of violence, it's not new to the region. We've been following this, Inez, for decades, of course. But, we've had various leaders from both sides. And Netanyahu has been coming forward, talking about taking a hardline approach, of course, more religious approach. So what are we hearing now as this new time of violence continues to escalate at this point? What are leaders saying from both sides to how to move forward and condemn this violence and try to bring about a more peaceful time?
So it's interesting. The Israeli Prime Minister did release a video statement asking for people not to take matters into their own hands. I think what's especially interesting is that this does all come as the 2 sides have been engaged in talks. That's quite rare, but there were Israeli officials, Palestinian officials over the weekend who met at a summit in Jordan alongside Jordanian, Egyptian, and American officials. The goal of the summit was to kind of address these tensions, try to figure out ways to de-escalate the violence here, and they did put out a statement on Sunday night, stressing the importance of de-escalating the tensions, preventing further violence. So that was, I think, maybe cause for hope here that at least the 2 sides are engaging in discussions. At the same time, though, the fear as we look ahead to the future is Ramadan coming up, and regional officials have said that they fear that Ramadan could be a time when we see an additional spike in violence. They've said that that's been the case in the past. Ramadan this year will be in March, so later this month. So that's part of the reason why there's so much concern here about this really volatile situation.
All right, Inez, appreciate it. Thank you so much. We will continue to follow it, of course.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.